Like that was one of the records. And then the Manny Pacquiao fight, I think, was the biggest one ever.
Who's coming back to fight?
That's kind of crazy.
He's 46 years old.
Yeah, but he's also saucy.
Great singer.
He's not going to come back 46 on the natch, I guarantee you.
You think so?
Well, I mean, if I was a person that was like prone to ridiculous speculation, which I am, I mean, he carried his knockout power through 8 weight classes, and his physique notably improved.
Yeah.
I mean, and boxing has always had a steroid issue. He brought in USADA, all that changed, and people's physiques melted. They changed radically. Alistair Overeem's the greatest example.
Yeah.
Alistair, when he fought Brock Lesnar, got drug tested, and he was saucy as fuck. When he's flexing on stage, that's when he was Ubereem. 260, solid as fuck, ripped, and just one of the more elite strikers on planet Earth, and Brock was fucked.
Yeah.
And then they make him take the drug tests, and he becomes a normal person with good fighting skills.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, he wasn't the Ubereem anymore, this destroyer. On the sauce, man. That guy was... I would love to see what an Alistair Overeem run on the sauce would have been.
So there's that. Joe Rogan would go on to say that he thinks everybody needs to be back on the sauce. He would talk about the USDA and how our rights are being stripped as humans because we can't have performing enhancing drugs. Not when it comes to being competitive anyway. Obviously, if you want to bodybuild all on your own, you can. And that was the thing. He was talking about free will being stripped. It's like they're taking away our free will. The USADA got involved, and here's where we're at. Look, whether you want to make fun of Mark Hunt or not, and a lot of people have and a lot of people do, his original point was 100% correct. He talked about Brock Lesnar, how he was using steroids, sticking needles in his ass, and he goes, if this guy goes into roid rage while we're in that cage, then what? And his point is 100% valid. Now, he may have taken it too far, but his original point was correct. And I interviewed Matt Brown at the time that happened, and he stood with Mark Hunt 100%. Now, where Matt Brown and I differ are, I don't think if you get caught one time, you should be banned and that's it. I think everybody gets mulligans. But, you know, John Jones and a lot of other guys, and look, whether or not he's saying this in jest, as a lot of people are trying to proclaim, really becomes irrelevant. The enhanced games are coming in 2026, and I'm not even kidding. Now, their whole stance is, look, we want to encourage natural performing enhancing drugs. We're not talking about typical steroids, aka metabolic, right, as they are known. They're talking more about natural substances. Me, on the other hand, I think, okay, number one, you're not going to say no to the regular steroids. You've already said that. You may not be encouraging it, but you've not said that we're not going to allow it. Then there's the other aspect of, at what point do we draw a line? At what point do we say, no, we can't have that in here? And it doesn't have to be a violent sport for somebody to feel violence because of the roids. And if we allow one, then we start have to allowing another. And we got to push it a little further and a little further. And when it comes to combat sports, folks, I'm sick. I do a thing. I do play-by-play for Husky Fat Promotions. They do kickboxing. The last fight that I was at in March, I literally saw a man get his head gashed in. Now, that's what being natural. We're going to add steroids to that. I don't give a damn how jacked somebody was. I don't give a damn how competitive they were, how great their striking was. I don't care. If you need it in order to win, then you are not that athletic to begin with. Well, everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's using some form of it. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't make it right. You know, people say that the juice era of baseball was so fun to watch. But it also was detrimental to the game. Because at the time, It destroyed the way that people viewed baseball. Remember, football was really coming up big time right around that era. And baseball was already kind of starting to lose its zeal as it is. And when that happened, it sent everything over the top. Football became the premier sport, and baseball dropped dramatically. Why? Because people looked at it like, well, if you've got to do that in order to hit a baseball, then how good are you really? And our need for entertainment, specifically when it comes to violent sports, is getting more and more ridiculous by the day. And I am somebody that loves combat sports, but I believe it absolutely should be in a controlled environment. You know, it's cool, man. Look, I don't have a problem with the fact that Kimbo Slice made it from his backyard. I don't take an issue with that. I've interviewed his son. I mean, they're cool people as far as I'm concerned. You got to make it how you got to make it. But even then, it was still some sort of level of control back there in those backyard brawls. Hey, man, he's had enough. You know, people love Michael Hearn, right? He's real huge, obviously, on TikTok now. But, of course, the debate is whether or not he's all natural. The Rock, the debate is whether or not he's all natty. We're constantly debating. And, look, there are two really good documentaries that you need to watch specifically about bodybuilding and steroids. You know, I know that Cat Williams has made fun of it, and he's like, people acting like steroids is like the big drug problem in America. But roids are dangerous for a lot of different reasons. Your muscles can, quote, blow up. You'll shrink your testicles. That's not a myth. They're not good on your mind. They take over your body. There's a lot of debate out there with Chris Benoit whether or not he went into a roid rage or whether or not it was CTE or potentially a combination of the two. It's dangerous. Not just for the people that they're competing against, but obviously their families. And when you talk about bodybuilders and all that, who I've interviewed umpteen of them, they never want to discuss steroids, and they always say that they're all natural. I would never. No way in hell, man. We're not doing that. That's not how we roll. All of them will claim the exact same thing. It's not a fallacy. It's a real thing and a real discussion that stays underground. Remember, there was a discussion about it in the WWE way back in the 90s. Are you guys using steroids? Are they really that naturally jacked? Because what we're also doing is creating an insurmountable goal. If none of these guys are taking roids and they're that big, then now we are teaching our young people that this is the standard of the male body. This is how you have to look, and if you can't look this way, then you're just weak. That's the standard that we're setting, and it's not a good one. You know, a lot of people love Joe Rogan, and I get why. You know, they feel like he's saying the things out loud with a massive audience that they can't say and get away with. They don't feel like they could talk about government conspiracies, aliens, how mind-expanding drugs actually help you. You know. But the idea that we need anything to enhance us, does that really tell us then that we're actually really truly using all the mind has to offer? Isn't there a way that we can go and get it without the use of all the drugs? As somebody who's over 170 days sober, I'm telling you right now, it's a slippery slope because it goes from We're doing this to experiment. We're doing this to expand. We're doing this to experience, to I can't live without it. And it doesn't take as long as you think for the most part. It's just the way that it is. And I think that when you have an audience that big, this is why the original nighttime talk show man himself, Carson, once said, I don't talk about politics because it's dangerous. And what he was citing was how when you develop an extreme audience, if you get something wrong, you are leading your hardcore followers down the wrong rabbit hole. And it's just not responsible. That's all I'm saying. All right. Obviously, last night, blowout game. Look, this series is all going to be about who handles this now, because we've already seen this before in the playoffs. Teams that win by a large margin after they, get down in the series, then they win by a big margin, but they still don't win the series, i.e. Cleveland. So we've already seen this dance. For me, this is where coaching comes into play. This is where the coaches rally the troops. Okay, guys, we were up 2-0. We got lazy. We see what happens when we get lazy and cocky. We see what happens when we get arrogant. We see what happens when we think we've already won, when we haven't closed the deal. Now it's time for us to get back. Then you got the other side of it. Hey, okay, great. We blew them out. We were desperate. I don't care what they were doing, whether they were lazy or not. It doesn't matter. We got to stay focused. Just because we won that game by a huge margin does not mean we are out of the woods, because we are far from it. We are still down a game. And if we let them take one at home, we're really putting ourselves in debt. This is where coaching is going to come into play. And then the locker room. Man, you've got to be able to come together right now. Ant's got to pull his troops in and go, look, big deal. That was the other night. This is tonight. Everybody get your rest. Stay focused. If I'm SGA, look, man, whatever that was yesterday. It's really the same speech, if I'm being honest. That was yesterday. That was the other night. We're not living on for that. Let's go take one at home and then go back to OKC and finish this thing. One game at a time. Sure, if you're OKC, that was a terrible loss. Don't get me wrong. That should have been embarrassing. But it's not something you can't recover from. And that's the beauty of the NBA playoffs. You get another shot in a couple days. Obviously, football, man, that's it. One game, you're done. Tennis, you get multiple chances. I mean, what do you say about that game, really? Other than they got dominated. I mean, seriously. We don't have to be over analytical about every little thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, tonight, the Knicks, man. I've already said that the Pacers are basically everything New York isn't right now. And that game that series going back to Indiana is not going to be any fun for the Knicks. I'm telling you that much right now. They are in a world of trouble. It's different from what's going on with Minnesota and Oklahoma City, because Minnesota still has very key pieces. Randall can get you a triple-double. We've already seen it. He's made a lot of mistakes, but, man, when he turns it on, he's amazing. Gobert, Julius Randle going to Minnesota may have been the best thing for him, because, he can really spread his wings and fly. I hated the Randle trade as a Knicks fan. For Karl-Anthony Towns, are you serious? Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm old school, man. Defense still wins championships. And the execution right now for the Knicks is just horrid. They're not communicating. There's no back and forth. There's nothing. There's no signals. Thibodeau just looks like an angry dad walking the sidelines. It's a nightmare right now in New York. They're blowing leads. They're not staying focused. Brunson is fumbling the bag literally at the end of these games. He's not focused. He's trying to do too much by himself, and he's costing his team. He's in foul trouble. It's a nightmare. Man, they got to really recenter if they're going to win tonight. That's all there is to it. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Take a device to play the Drew Duncan Sports Show. Everybody stay safe and have a great rest of your night and or day.